My name's Andrea and I'm living in Walton on the Naze.
Richard, also Walton on the Naze.
Alan, Kirby Cross.
Martin, Frinton-on-Sea.
And Jim, Frinton-on-Sea.
What is the Bruff Beat Club and how did it come around?
It started, when was that? Last year. I've done a reggae night in there. And Richard's obviously really local. And then we done one a month or so ago where I done reggae and Richard done soul. Now Jim and Martin are here and we all love music. So we just put in our combined love of music together.
So the first night is in February, is that right?
Yeah, 7th of Feb.
Why 60s soul, garage and reggae? So do you all have your own kind of specialities within that?
Well, we've never played together before as a group, so some of this is yet to be found out and we won't all necessarily be playing every time. I'm very much at the soul end of the spectrum, probably to the disgust of some here. I go into funk and disco as well, but yeah, I'm very much the sort of soul and 60s R&B and a bit of jazz in terms of 60s music. That's where I sit.
What about the rest of you?
I love reggae, but early reggae.
Mine's psych and garage, so a little bit unusually different than the others. So some of my psych is a little bit soul-y, so I'm hoping it'll sort of blend in a little bit.
And mine's very firmly rooted in soul and R&B. You won't find much in my record box made after 1972.
And you're all DJing all vinyl?
Yes.
Yeah. So why are you all such vinyl fans?
It's the way when the music was released, that was the way it was intended to be enjoyed. That's the easiest way to articulate it. Plus, it's a tangible thing. Digital music's kind of something that's on in the background while you do other stuff, whereas it requires attention and investment to appreciate vinyl.
Yeah.
Not financial investment of your time, intellectually.
And I think we're more collectors than DJs, really. I think I could say that for all of us. We love collecting.
Yeah.
Not so much me.
You're shaking your head there.
I'm far more. I enjoy the DJing, and my collection is much more based on. In general, I'm thinking, does someone want to dance to it? Will it make people dance? So, I obviously have stuff that is less dancey, and that's some of the stuff that hopefully I'll be playing at Bruff Beat Club because I don't often get the chance to. But yeah, I think these guys are serious collectors.
And how did you all get into collecting records and DJing?
So I started collecting records early 80s that I was hearing out at clubs I was going to as a young mod, and bought quite a lot fairly quickly, and then got asked by Eddie Pillar and Ray to do a little slot at their mod club in Chadwell Heath in Essex. So that was because they said, well, you've got a reasonable collection building up there, come and share it with some of the people in the club. So that was my first ever turn behind the decks, probably about 1981, I think.
Yeah, so my collection is slightly different, and like Jim, I was a sort of 80s mod, but then in those early days I was wearing paisley and frilly shirts and stuff and listening to a bit more sort of 60s Floyd and psychedelic stuff, the Nuggets and stuff, so that's where my sort of record collection comes from. And I'm a bit of a late starter really, because my DJing experience came from the lockdown. We were doing some Zoom parties and I've got my record collection out, and then one of a DJ colleagues said, right, after lockdown we'll start a club up because they loved some of my tunes. So yeah, and that's basically where that started. So we've run a couple of clubs in Covent Garden and Notting Hill. But that stopped when we moved. I moved recently to Frinton, and this is why we're sort of now bonding with these guys and doing something locally.
I think I've been buying records forever, ever since I can remember. And I'll happily play them to anyone who wants to listen.
Similar to Jim, for me, in the sense of it starting with the mod word, but for me in Ipswich, which is where I was born and brought up. I remember being at school and a guy in my class who had an older brother came to school one day and said, oh, there's this thing called Northern Soul, which to me was like, never heard of it, what's that? And he produced a couple of Kent albums, took them home, had a listen, never gave the records back to him, and 40 odd years later he still jokes to me about the fact that I've got to give these records back to him. But yeah, was pretty hooked after that, and over the years carried on collecting them, carried on buying records, got into DJing when I was a student in Birmingham, spent some time running a little soul club in London, and then since Andrew and I have been out here in Walton, we now do a night called Soul on the Naze, which has been going for about 4 or 5 years, and people seem to come along and enjoy.
I mean, I wasn't so much of a collector. I've been buying records since the 70s, going down to Woolworths on a Saturday morning, picking up some records. I'm guessing I'm probably the oldest of us here. But I was very late to the party as well for starting to DJ. So I only started to DJ really when I met Richard. As he said, he was running a night in London called The State We're In. And when we got together, I started playing there, which was really great. So I would have been in my mid-50s when I started DJing. So really loved it.
Yeah.
Nice people. Yeah.
Never too late.
Never too late.
Well, there you go. It's never too late to start a new thing. You're all kind of local to the Walton area. So what's brought you all to the coast?
The sea.
The
sea for me. I mean, I've had a beach out here for 25, 30 years. So coming up and down from London. And I love it. Yeah, I grew up in a small, slightly faded seaside town in South Wales, so I sort of get the vibe.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to be. There's some really good people around, but yeah, I'm a sea dipper. I like the beach huts, like wandering up and down the beach, even without a dog. I'm the crazy lady who walks up and down the beach without a dog. But yeah, love it.
And so what do you think it is about seaside towns that kind of make them have this cool vibe for music and culture? Because it seems to attract a certain kind of people and that kind of vibe. What is it about? What is it about Walton? Because Walton's really cool.
I think it's how we've all ended up here. People just bring in what they loved and like, and you get a good mix of people.
And the locals are really cool as well. Yeah, so yeah, we're loving it. We pinch ourselves every day since we've been here. It's an amazing place. And amazing people.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many of the people we grew up with always had the plan to move to the coast. You know, even the kind of inner city people. If you kind of ask them honestly, it'd be, the ideal would be if we could go and live at the coast. You know, so everyone's gradually migrating out to
as we reach a certain age.
Yeah. And that's cool, right? Because then you kind of you bring new people in, and then there's people that already live there, and you get that nice mix of people from different backgrounds and kind of history. It's good.
But I think you also need some sort of catalyst, and I think that's what's happened in Walton since I've known it. And I think the two most important things here that have happened is the record shop, Format Records, absolutely fantastic, and also the Naze, which is a bookshop come project space come little music venue. And I think what's happened is that people have gravitated to those places, got to meet each other. We've DJ'd at the record shop, we've done stuff at the Naze, and I think that's allowed people to find each other and also to come into contact. I mean, there's a whole range of music going on in Walton now, which is absolutely fantastic. There's people like Ian from the Clacton Arts Centre. He's been bringing a lot of little bands and new local artists together and just having spaces for that to happen. And I think, we very much tested out the ground with Soul on the Naze. We didn't know how that was going to go down and if there was the appetite here. But I think the demographic helps as well, doesn't it? Because as the guys have said, people do come here to retire. It's a slightly older demographic, therefore that music from the 60s and the early 70s is quite popular. So there was the ability to put on a night like a Motown and soul and a bit disco-y night for Soul on the Naze. And there was we had a little 80s one for a while as well, with a woman who used to run the vintage shop, Denise and Dolly Daydream. She used to put on a sort of a Top of the Pops night. And I think the more things like that start to happen, then you can have the opportunity. And Bruff Bar opened as well, which is a great venue. And we're looking at ways to support that because it's not open all the time. It's got quite limited opening hours. So it's nice to find these places where we can do things.
And I think you're right. I think sometimes it takes for there to be kind of like a few kind of central hubs that then suddenly people start to come in contact with each other and are like, oh, this is going on, well, we could put this on. And then Walton's definitely had more places open in the last couple of years, hasn't it? And it's kind of really seems to be sort of on the up with... Yeah.
Well, I mean, Bruff knows, you've already mentioned, the record shop, they've started doing DJ sessions on Saturdays now throughout the year, East Coast 5. I know there's bands going on at Victory, the Walton Tavern.
Queen's Head.
So yeah, quite a lot of activity actually.
For a small place,
doesn't
like,
feel
quite a lot going
so
on.
much that a Saturday night is necessarily going to involve having to sit at home and watch Ant and Dec. You can get out and see things.
So if someone's never been to the club before, which obviously this is the first one, so they won't have been, what are you going to tell them to convince them to come along?
Wonderful cocktails, anyway. My wife's working behind the bar, so anyway, so hopefully with large measures as well.
Yeah.
Fabulous sea views.
Yeah.
And how many times you get to go to a venue with sea views like that? It's really great.
Free entry.
Free entry.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's always a winner, isn't it? Because, you come along, don't like it, then
You're
you
going
haven't
to
lost
hear
anything.
you're going to hear some tunes you've probably never heard before.
Yeah, you'll hear some you know and some you
Yeah.
So what is the date of the first night?
7th of Feb.
What can people expect music-wise and vibe-wise from you guys?
So 2 DJs for that night, Richard and Jim. Yeah, so they'll be doing sort of splitting up a 4-hour, I suppose, session between them. So you want to explain what you're going to be playing?
60 soul and R&B for me. Quite a lot of Motown, but not necessarily, quite a few that people will know, but slip a few in that they might go, I mean, the best thing possible would be if A, people have a great time, B, they realise that YouTube and Spotify is not necessarily the correct way to enjoy music, but even better if they come up and ask you what some of the records are and they go, I want to go and find that, right? I mean, that's the,
that's always good, isn't it?
Yeah,
when someone's enjoying something they haven't heard before.
Someone comes up and says, can I take a picture of that record? Then that's, you've done your job, right?
I think that's right. I think the sweet spot is if you play something that somebody is thinking, never ever heard this in my life, but hey, I love it. It's really got my feet tapping, or it's really making me want to stand up and have a little bit of a shuffle or find out more about what this is, then that's part of the ambition behind it. I think at the same time, as Jim says, some Motown tunes, people shouldn't come along sort of fearing that they're going to be sat there perhaps hearing nothing that they've ever heard in their lives before. We can hit familiar territory as well.
That kind of leads me on. What is one record that you would play to fill the dance floor?
Depends when you play it.
Yeah, we'd all have different tunes that we didn't type, so we'd have individually different records to folks supposed to put forward.
For me, it's going to be Chuck Jackson, Hand It Over. Big tune, and I'm hoping that Jim's nodding his head over there. I think it's one of those that kind of hit the brief in terms of what I was talking about earlier. You won't necessarily know it, but if you hear it for the first time and it kind of washes over you and you're thinking, wow, not sure what this is, but love it.
Well, yeah, filling the dance floor, I would probably go with another tune that Richard knows is never far from our box, which would be Francis Nero, Keep On Loving Me. It's a Motown song, so it's got the Motown 4s on the floor beat, and people would kind of think they might know it because it's got the Motown beat, but it's a great record, and if you're playing it in the right kind of venue with a big dance floor, it generally does the business.
If I'm playing somewhere where I want to get people dancing, and it's not necessarily at the Bruff Beat Club, because I think it's probably a little bit more mellow, but the ones that never fail me are Move On Up. Oh, Jackie Wilson, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher.
That's one of my
that really brings people out to
that's
dance, and
great.
it's a big favourite at like Soul on the Naze and that sort of evening. There's different things at different venues, but I think
spot on. If you're in a venue and it's kind of, you can tell most of the people in it might be the first time they've ever been to that type of a venue, then you can't go wrong with starting off with a couple of big Motown hits or something like Jackie Wilson, because everyone will know it, something like Four Top.
Okay, so what is one record that you've played that surprised the crowd the most? And which one of you is most likely to surprise the crowd?
Okay, I do have to confess that at Soul on the Naze, I have thrown in Blockbuster by the Sweet. If everyone's up and dancing, having a good time and a little bit drunk, it goes down okay, even at a soul night.
That's quite a surprise, I guess. That's a good one. So would it be you that would be most likely to surprise the crowd, do you think?
Well, I think
I would say
probably not
Based on that answer.
And they're witches, so they're already worried about asking me to play.
How often is the night going to be?
It's the first Saturday of every month now
Okay,
we're booked in. So one after would be the 7th of March.
Yeah.
And that'd be me and Andrea taking up those sessions. Poor Alan's
Brace
coming in April, we believe. So yeah, so that'd be sort of Sight Garage and 70s glam. 70s glam and a bit of soul thrown in as well.
Do any of you have a dream DJ or a band that you would love to have shared the bill with?
Well, from a DJ point of view, I'm lucky. I've already shared the decks with my favourite ever DJ, which is Aidy Crowsdale. So I can tick that one off the list.
So you've done it already?
Yeah.
I think for me, having spotted the other day that apparently he's now living in the UK, Yalen Nagonda, to come out to Walton and do a little bit of acoustic set would be.
I've been playing loads of his tracks on
amazing.
my Tuesday night show. I absolutely love him.
Yeah,
he's
He's
great,
a frequent visitor to our French show.
Yeah, we got a friend in East London who runs a market store, and he keeps turning up there. Apparently, I think Bobby's getting a bit fed up of him now.
Oh yeah, he's great. Okay, so if Walton on the Naze had a soundtrack, what would be the first song on that soundtrack?
Wow, that depends on
What style?
where
Who's playing?
everything. Yeah.
I'm thinking Grooving by the Young Rascals. There's something about
that's a great
summer afternoon
Yeah, that's
on a
great
Sunday
shout.
afternoon that kind of gets that feel going on.
Yeah, I endorse that. That's good.